Welcome to the Midlife Leap, a lifestyle talk show for women in midlife. I'm your host, Sanita Johnson, and I am excited to share tips and interviews on topics ranging from business, career, current news, fashion, shopping, travel, health, and so much more. And because I'm known as the Midlife Leap Coach, from time to time, I'll share some of my signature Midlife Leap coaching tips. So come on, ladies, let's reignite and reimagine our Midlife Leap journey together. There are over 6 million adults over 50 in the United States suffering from lower back pain. Here are 5 main causes of back pain and some tips that will help you alleviate some of that pain. Cause number 1, uninterrupted sitting. We're often sitting at our desk, at our computers for prolonged periods of time. But sitting for as long as 4 hours takes a toll on our bodies, especially our backs, because we aren't using our joints. Muscle spasms travel down the spine, to our hips, and to those surrounding joints, causing pain in our back. What you can do is take many breaks to stretch, do some core strengthening exercises. And if you can squeeze in at least half an hour 6 times a week, you'll see a major improvement. Cause number 2, cigarette smoking. Just stop smoking cigarettes. Overall, your body will thank you for it. But as far as lower back pain or back pain in general, smoking limits blood flow, causing discs to age prematurely. According to the study in the Journal of Human Brain Mapping, smokers are 3 times more likely than non-smokers to develop chronic back pain. So just stop smoking. Cause number 3, how old is your mattress? When was the last time you changed your mattress? And is your mattress too soft? That could be the cause of your back pain, because the best type of mattress for preventing back pain is one that is at least medium firm. And of course, the newer the mattress, the better. So replace your mattress every 7 to 10 years, not 30 years, not 20 years, 7 to 10 years. Cause number 4, shoes. Ladies, I know we love our heels, our high heels. And uneven soles, some are also bad for us. We don't love uneven soles. It just happens sometimes when you're not paying attention. But wearing high heels and uneven soles can do a number on your back over the years. Our shoes should provide a medium firmness and provide arch support. Okay? So check out. No, we love our shoes, but make sure they're good for your back. Cause number 5, stress, pandemic stress. Chronic stress can provide an on switch for painful inflammation to, travel throughout our body. But you can alleviate much of your stress by exercising, such as walking, a short run, and stretching often. And my favorite stress buster is meditation and quiet time. Shut out the noise. So if you want to read more about how you can help your back pain, these tips came from an article in the AARP blog titled 5 Surprising Causes of Back Pain After 50, written by Kimberly Gold, Goad, and it was dated June 25, 2021. Margaret Vandergriff is founder and CEO of Your Place Finder, a consulting agency that helps location-independent midlife women take the guesswork out of their search for the right place to live, so that they can stop dreaming about moving to a new location and start enjoying the life they want in a location that they love. Margaret created her signature Place Finder system to identify and match like-minded places, and people by drawing on prospect research and strategic planning expertise that she honed over 30 years as a consultant, helping nonprofit organizations access $25 million in grants. Margaret currently lives with her husband and 4 amazing cats in rural Iowa and is eagerly anticipating a move to Eugene, Oregon. Margaret, thank you so much for joining us today. Now, can you tell me, was there a specific experience that led to the launch of Your Place Finder?
Yes, it did. And actually, you're saying that I lived in rural Iowa should have given it all away. But what happened was, when I was an empty nester, I have a almost 7-year-old daughter. And when she left the nest, I was like, geez, I'm really kind of restless. I'm kind of wanting to do something. But at the time, I was married to someone else, and he had decided he wanted to take a job somewhere else in this tiny town in the middle of nowhere up in West Texas. I used to live in Austin. And so I went up there. I was kind of like, I didn't really want to go there, but it was also like I was sort of itching for something new, and also it was really expensive, and I was kind of like, what am I really doing here with this house? And like, I'm just spending a lot of money. So I thought, I'll go on an adventure, we'll see what happens. And boy, I had no idea what was going to happen. So I went there to this little town. It was horrible. My marriage fell apart over a year and a half. I took off for the closest city, which was Lubbock, which wasn't a whole lot better. And then I did meet my current husband there. So that was the good part of moving there, and his 5 cats at the time, who I inherited. And so while we were there, we were like, both of our ex-spouses had brought us to West Texas, and we both hated it. So we were like, let's blow this joint. Let's get out of here. And so we went on this road trip, and we went all over the Midwest, and we got this idea in our heads. And I'm still like kind of incredulous about this. It's like, we got this idea, this romantic idea of like, oh, living in a small town, and oh, people are so friendly. And sometimes they are. There are friendly small towns out there. I know there are, but we just happened to move to one of the unfriendliest small towns probably around. And so it was a disaster. It was an absolute disaster. And when we reached the destination and we looked around and we realized what we'd done, we were like, oh dear, what have we done? And during the course of all that, I kind of got this idea. I was like, when I was looking, I was trying to find somebody, who could maybe help me, and I just got completely tied up in knots. And if somebody could have just been there to kind of put me in perspective, kind of say, you're kind of like, maybe you should be careful about the assumptions you're making. And like, maybe you should be more careful and thorough about your search, which I should have been. And I was like, man, this is really an idea. And then I started thinking about it, and I was like, well, I don't really see how it's much different to match nonprofit organizations and fundraising, funding organizations, to put those together, because you're looking at a lot of the same things. You're looking at, what are their priorities? What are their goals? What are the needs they want to address? And so I'm kind of looking at this in like a parallel way and thinking, well, how can I apply what I know to the place finding arena? And so I just kind of made this system up, and it is based largely on prospect research for funding sources, but sort of applying that to places. And I work with my clients, and we work together on what have they done, where have they been, what did they like, what did they not like about where they moved, where they lived. And we kind of do this whole sort of brainstorming, strategic planning thing. And out of that, we come up with what I call your ideal place profile. And that is sort of, basically, it's the search criteria. It's what is used it creates the roadmap for the research. So this is what the client, their preferences, this is what they want, this is their ideal. And it's so funny. I mean, sometimes just for the heck of it, I'll go, let's see if I can find a place that meets every single one of our criteria. And there's 10 criteria. It's not, I don't go crazy, because you don't want to drive yourself crazy with, variables. But So anyway, sometimes I just go and I go, let's see if I can find a place. I never, ever find a place that meets every single criteria. So it's really an exercise in what's most important to you. What do you really need to have? And if you were to look at all of these places I pull, like usually it's 10 to 20, it's somewhere in that range that I give the client to start with. And it's like, what is really important to you? You say you like all these things, and we did prioritize it. But now that you're seeing what's out there, you know, what do you think really fits best? You know, so it's really it's just an interesting exercise. I really, really enjoy the work.
So, you know what comes to my mind? There's that career book. Is it What's Your Parachute? I can't think of the name of the book.
Yeah,
You're doing it for places to live.
exactly.
Yeah. What's the name? Do you remember the title of that book?
What color is your parachute? That's
Yes.
it. Growing up, I totally remember that book.
Yeah. So you're doing that except for locations. Okay, so I guess some of the things you look at, if someone's more they don't like to have a lot of activity, they wouldn't move to New York, of course, New York City, but maybe
True.
they choose the suburbs, or or if their budget isn't very high, they wouldn't want to move to an expensive city.
Right, absolutely. All of these different elements are taken into consideration.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of a balancing act. And you do realize just how, we just have to sort of be clear with ourselves. Like, well, do I really have to have a place that is this certain elevation? Or am I willing to like wiggle a little bit? Or does it have to be this like temperature in the summer with this amount of humidity? I mean, you have to there has to be room for wiggle room. And a person has to decide, well, what am I willing to wiggle with?
So do you look at culture? I mean, that's probably a little bit too deep as far as certain neighborhoods. Are people more friendly? I don't know if you can go that deep.
Well, what we do is my main focus is the data collection, and I organize it for them. And it's really easy for the client to just like look at everything and sort of gather all like the information for themselves, because it's all right there for them to go to the websites, or it's right there on the spreadsheet. And so we walk through that, but then the next step is, that's just one piece of the equation. The other piece of the equation is, what is the place really like? We see what it's like on paper, but it's always different, and you have to make sure that it's at least somewhat in line with what you're like, I'm really excited about it on paper. Let's see what it's like when I actually go and I scout it out. And the scouting out thing is a whole like art form of itself. It's like, you can't just go and visit and kind of pretend like it's a vacation, because it's really like work. It's like, I might live here. This is a big money, investment. This is a big stress, time, everything investment. And so make sure you do it right, and just spending the time and really digging down and like talking to people so you really know if they're friendly or not. That's really important. And it's amazing what you can learn by just drawing out strangers when you go places.
That's interesting. Yeah, because one of the places I lived before I moved to the DC area, I won't name any names, but I still had my social media business, and I lived there before. Wasn't for me. I thought, well, it's supposed to be more metropolitan now. More people from New York, from other states have moved there. But what I found is what I was running into is what's called thousandaires. I'd never heard of that before. I had several people, when I was meeting people regarding my business, providing social media marketing, these people were acting like they had a lot of money. But when it came down to charging, I think my cheapest package was like $300 a month. They couldn't afford that. I had several people like, oh, you're meeting thousandaires. Oh, you're meeting thousandaires. And turns out it's a real term for this city. I wound up leaving, of course. So it's like, I can't make any money here. But is there a way, someone who has their own business, to determine if that's a place to move to where they can continue their business or start a new business?
That's a really good idea. Because my clients are like location independent, and it doesn't really matter where they are. It's more like, because you can be anywhere. You have the freedom to live anywhere and to do your job anywhere, or to retire, or whatever people want to do. So it's not like, I don't necessarily guide people in finding work or things like that, but I mean, I imagine as part of their scouting visit, that would be something that we would want to investigate, and that would maybe be a whole separate thing that we talk about. And like, what would be the different sorts of things, people you could talk to, things you could investigate. Maybe you could go to some meetings, some networking things, or whatever while you're there. So it's just really not being afraid to get your hands dirty and just getting in and really seeing what a place is like.
Yeah, that's a good point, because when I was moving, I was selling some things and I met an HR agent from, I don't know if agent is the right word, an HR rep she was from California, but she was living in this city because her husband moved there. And she even shared, she said, well, even if you were looking for a job, she's like, they want all these skills, but they don't want to pay you well for those skills here.
Right.
Oh God, no. I'm sure it's not everyone, of course, but that was my experience. So what are some of the key things that you ask? Are you asking for your clients what type of personality in a city that they're looking for, cost of living? What are some like 5 main questions?
Well, so what we do is, I guide them through sort of we go back in time, where have you lived, what were your experiences, what were your impressions, like what do you kind of dream about when you think about a place? We kind of explore that stuff. But what I have what I call, it's a place finding cheat sheet, and it lists all of these different possibilities, and I give it to all of my clients before the brainstorming session, and they have it to refer to. So it's got everything from, all the cost of living things. It's got maybe you're a caregiver, so it's got access for senior, resources. It's got education, continuing education. It's got, you name it, taxes, all these different things that a person might want to research and know about a place. And so it kind of gives them, like, say, okay, well, which of these things, if you were to think about all these sorts of things, cultural, opportunities, educational opportunities, dining out, what's important to you? Like, what do you really, 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 really have to have? And those are the things that we pull out, and those are the things that we put on the ideal place profile, and those are the things that we base the research on.
Well, just off the top of my head, your service would definitely be, what would be the word? A very smart investment, because moving is not cheap.
Right? Boy, do I know it.
Having moved twice myself in the past, I guess 4 years total. It would have been better to find someone like you to help me navigate that and make sure I'm going to the right place. And I could have saved a whole lot more money.
So could I, if only I'd been around for myself.
Yeah. So tell me,
I messed up.
Obviously, you've used yourself sort of as a client to choose Eugene, Oregon. What were some of the key factors that made you choose to move there, or you're moving there?
Well, I grew up in San Francisco, and my mom, she's 88, and she's still living in San Francisco. And one of the things was to be closer to her. The other thing was the West Coast. I miss the ocean. It's not the same as the East Coast ocean. It's so dramatic, and I remember it from my childhood, and it just does something to me. So it's like being closer to that, all those trees, mountains, all the things that is nowhere to be found anywhere around here.
And
I just miss it so much.
And those are key questions, I suppose. What nature, what do you need? Do you prefer more of a city life? Okay. So if a client wants to reach you, how would she contact you?
Well, she could go to my website, which is yourplacefinder.com. She can reach me at Margaret@yourplacefinder.com. And she can find me on Instagram at Instagram, yourplacefinder.
Wonderful. Thank you, Margaret, so much for joining us. And ladies, your place finder to help you find your next fabulous location to move to.
Yes.